Welcome to the Fieldnotes Podcast, presented by Seaworthy Functional Medicine. Seaworthy exists to help you overcome your complex health challenges so you can be fully vital. Now, here's your host, Dr. Rob Downey.
What do we need to know about essential oils and new dimensions of their use? Today, we are so fortunate to be joined by kind of the OG person in this space, Jodi Cohen. She has many certifications and background, but her superpower is the development and deployment of these timeless traditions in a very contemporary fashion. And today we're going to talk about some specific new dimensions around smell and also trauma. Do I have that right, Jodi?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is your second time on the Fieldnotes Podcast, so people can go check out the first iteration if they want to get kind of the one-on-one level. But let's see. Let's start from the beginning. You're undergoing another iteration of your company right now, or your website?
An upgrade. Yeah.
An upgrade, leveling up.
We are leveling up. It's really funny. I launched my company in 2012. I'm a big fan of necessity is the mother of invention. I first started using oils because my second child was harder than my first. And that would calm him down at night. So he would actually sleep, which means the rest of the house would sleep too. So that was really, it was just like, it smells good. He lets me rub it on his feet because he's a sensory seeker. Like that was really how it started. And then, life throws you learning opportunities that sometimes get packaged as negative experiences. His dad was very depressed, and it got to the point where I feared he might die on my watch. And so I moved him to a residential treatment facility. And for the first time in 10 years, once I knew he was safe and it wasn't my job to keep him alive, it was like my nervous system didn't know what to do because it had been so stuck in fight or flight that I just literally couldn't get out of bed, and I was a single mom. I had a full-time job. I was also overachieving class parent, and it just wasn't going to work. I'd get up with my kids, make them breakfast, pack their lunch, drop them at school, come home and crawl into bed and set the alarm for 10 minutes before pickup. And I knew enough to be dangerous. As I know my adrenals are exhausted, but nothing was helping. And I'm like, okay, maybe I need to go upstream. Why are my adrenals exhausted? Could it possibly be that my system is in sympathetic overdrive and what I really need is to activate my parasympathetic nervous system? So I started playing with that. But, the interesting thing is when when everything feels too hard, when all you can really do is lie in bed, all of these vagus nerve stimulation techniques feel too hard. Remembering to breathe. Wait, what? Even
Catch 22. Yeah.
Yeah. And I somehow, figured out, I stumbled into this research about electrical, basically an implant that stimulates the vagus nerve by being implanted behind the earlobe on the mastoid bone. So just a quick backup. The reason that you might be exhausted is because your adrenal glands, which release stress hormones, are tired from releasing stress hormones all the time. Why are they releasing stress hormones all the time? Because your body thinks it's in danger, and those stress hormones help you survive. They help to route blood to your arms and your legs and away from your core. They basically put you in that fight or flight stance, and that's known as the sympathetic branch of your nervous system. When you're not in danger, the parasympathetic branch allows blood flow to route to your core, and that's really where all healing occurs. But some of us stay stuck in that kind of fight or flight situation, and it's not just physical danger. There are times when someone's changing lanes in traffic and they don't see you, or you might be living in a somewhat of a dangerous neighborhood. That happens, but more likely in our modern world, it's that you turn on the news and you see something that scares you and you think that could happen to you, or you have some kind of, you're supporting somebody who might be anxious or depressed and you feel the pressure of sustaining them and keeping them alive, or you had some kind of past trauma that is playing in the background and keeping you in that state where you don't feel safe. And so what I deduced was I have to get myself out of this sympathetic state where I feel that I'm in danger and shift into this parasympathetic state. And once I kind of read this research, oh, and it's the vagus nerve that is the gear shift between danger and safety. It's literally the gut-brain axis. It starts at the base of the brain, base of the skull, splits, winds around both sides, and it's the most accessible behind the earlobe. And then it winds through every organ of digestion and detoxification. So this research was talking about this implant that would stimulate the vagus nerve right there. And somehow when I read stimulate, I was aware, because I'm putting oil on my hands to rub on my son's feet. Some of these oils are very hot, like cinnamon, clove, oregano. And that means they feel a little warm and ouchy. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if I could use oil to stimulate. And so I just started playing. It's a little bit like when you come home from a trip and your kids are starving and, gee, what do we have in the refrigerator? Let's just see what we can make up. It was really that kind of effort. And I created something that's clove, which is stimulatory, and lime, which has small molecules, and started using it behind the earlobe on the mastoid bone and realized that really helped me gear shift out of stress. And once you're out of stress and in healing, then healing can occur. And so that's kind of where it started.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I think one really neat thing for our audience, who I thank for joining us, is that I think Jodi's work and her company. I want to make sure I get this right. The first time I interviewed you, I got a little bit wrong. Vibrant Blue Oils. It's very much to me a perfect example of sort of the healing arts, and it's so refreshing for so many that it can be both take these science manifestations which are provocative, but then the art of healing can meet this in a really safe way. And I remember the first time, a lot of us who are fortunate enough to be affiliated with you will get some of the parasympathetic blend, and that combination of clove and lime is just a smell I'll never forget, right? And then there's some of it sort of wafting forward after this application here uh,
Yes.
at the
Yes.
mastoid, which just kind of the immediate just immediate feeling is, oh, there's something startling happening here. And so I think that's uh, well, we could go on and on, but it's um, it's such a powerful, like, smell is neglected, and then this goes straight to the midbrain. We'll be talking about that today. So we're bypassing a bunch of sort of filters and circuits. So maybe the most important segue here is it's okay to heal in ways that are smarter rather than harder. And so if people who've been
Yes.
listening to the podcast want to go straight to some solutions and not struggle so much, I think Jodi's work and her company are a really good thing to know about.
I love that you said smell is neglected. I've been someone gave me the pop culture name, the scent sleuth, because I'm a
Uh-huh.
journalist. And so what I think people don't realize is of your five senses, smell has the most direct access to your brain.
Yeah.
Smell is critical to survival. You smell food, you smell water, you smell danger. And actually, the loss of the sense of smell is the first sign of cognitive decline. Which
Brilliant.
and what's fascinating to me about that is that you can reverse it. You
Mhm.
can, all you need to do, there's so much research that supports this. You just need to smell something like twice a day. And it's really like weightlifting, right? You start weightlifting and maybe 3 pounds feels heavy, and then you
Mhm.
do it more and you work up the capacity to go heavier. When you're not smelling, you're not stimulating your frontal lobe, your prefrontal cortex, which is your executive function. So we wonder why symptoms of cognitive decline are you can't remember things, executive function. You get angry, you can't regulate your emotions, executive function. And so the more you smell, it's the easiest weight training you'll ever do. You're just stimulating, the molecules are stimulating the executive function and helping you restore capacity.
It reminds me of something I read in Brainwash by Austin and David Perlmutter, where they talked about I think the terpenes and things in the forest, right? If we're walking in a,
Oh, forest bathing,
um,
right.
and just some when I smell in Alaska, a warm pine forest hike on sort of the hottest day of summer, then I'm immediately transported back to the Montana of my childhood, which has to do with memory in the midbrain and going straight to, and I feel great. I just immediately feel terrific. And so I think that there are lots of examples, but the sort of a bunch of filters that all the other sensory pathways have are not part of the olfactory or smell pathway. So we can sort of go straight to the midbrain and getting executive function booted up in the prefrontal cortex, et cetera. So just
Do
a
you know?
really,
Do you know, by the way, why that is? Why you have those powerful memories? It really has to do with it. It is the limbic system, the amygdala, and what it's gathering is what's safe and what's dangerous.
mm,
And it's this
mm-hmm,
database. And so
mm,
things like the forest in your childhood, a lot of people mention that their grandmother wore lavender, the
mm-hmm,
smell of a Christmas tree, the
mm-hmm,
smell of fresh cut grass or freshly baked cookies.
mm-hmm,
All of those things make them so happy because it reminds them of safety. So your
mm-hmm,
limbic system is constantly categorizing safe, not safe, and safe is often
mm-hmm,
familiar. So those familiar
mm-hmm,
smells are like a immediate, uh,
mm-hmm.
God, my words today. I need to smell more. They're basically immediate safety signaling scent, but also kind of like a state change,
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's really great for people who suffer from anxiety, depression, because all you need to do is change your state and you can change your whole mood.
Mm, fantastic. Well, it was kind of you to give me some prep for today. And so we've been talking a little bit about why scent might be one of the most underutilized tools for the nervous system, but delve more into maybe the best segue is this. So again, folks can go to the first interview, but what was kind of the prompt to level up around reconfiguring the website? And what are the things you know today that you want to share about the use of essential oils for, memory, mood, physiologic responses, olfactory enrichment, trauma release, how this is a missing link in contemporary approaches.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about how you leveled up and what you're fired up to share now.
So, next stage in necessity is the mother of invention. On August 27th of 2018, my 12-year-old son Max, who was the impetus for all of this, was killed in a car accident. He's
Oh,
12 years old.
oh,
And it's so funny. People truly do not know what to say when
mhm,
you're in grief. And
mhm,
so they were saying to my daughter, who was 14 at the time, your mom's never going to be the same. So my poor daughter, she just lost her brother. Her dad was the driver. His friends were also um, in the car, and they're telling her the only person she has left isn't going to be the same. So I was kind of in this weird juxtaposition of I can barely function, and yet I somehow need to level up and figure out how to function because my daughter needs me. And if I don't, I had done all the research on adverse childhood experiences, and I knew that if I could be that anchor for her, it would go better for her. And
mm,
so, this moment of like, I have no idea how I'm going to do this, but I need to figure it out. And interestingly, that first night, I woke up. I didn't know it at the time. It's called broken-hearted syndrome. What happens is that when you have kind of an emotional stressor, the adrenaline floods your system. And if you're slightly older and the estrogen is lower and can't offset that adrenaline, it can feel like a heart attack.
mm,
It's not damaging your heart, but it's the same feeling. So I woke up with that, and you know, I was like, I don't even know what to do. And then somehow um, I remembered reading that rose essential oil can kind of offset these feelings of grief. And, I used to rub Max's feet. So I had all these oils in his bedroom. So I walked into his room and kind of bathed myself in it and was lying there on his bed, um, crying and smelling it. And then I had this weird moment of, I'm okay in this moment. Like, I know this just happened. I know the world is kind of bananas, but in this very moment, I'm okay. And then my
mm,
next thought was if I can just string together enough moments of being okay, I can balance out the not okay and I can do this. And that was really how I kind of, dug myself out of that state of grief and really went on to I wrote another book which was a best-selling book, I added a blend called Limbic Reset. That's a lot of oils that are really great for helping with that reset. I added a blend called Heart that kind of works well for grief, and I just kept learning. And my mission is really this. I feel like there's a lot of sadness and sorrow in the world, and there are a lot of people that feel like their situation is kind of hopeless. And so I really want to inspire hope. I really want to remind people that your sense of smell goes directly to your brain, and that part of your brain that can help shift you out of those feelings of hopelessness and despair and depression, and just give you kind of that, that moment of smelling the pines and remembering your childhood, that moment of safety. And
Mm.
it's not that hard to access. We've forgotten. Smell is so neglected, but nose cells are brain cells. There's a reason anesthesia is delivered through the nose, and maybe that people snort things they shouldn't, because it goes directly to the brain, and it's hard to
Mm.
get into the brain. It has
Mhm.
this amazing security system known as the blood-brain barrier that interestingly only allows super small fat soluble molecules like essential oils. So I almost want to say this is like a safety net. Like when
Mm.
you're having that day or that moment and you just don't know what to do, this is something that you can do that can kind of pull you out of it and pull you back to yourself.
Mm. And this the website and the use of the products. How does that sort of something I do now with the podcast I didn't in the past? I realized I was like violating the journalism rule of burying the lead, right?
Oh, yeah.
Um, so so how does it feel for people to use your program, right? Now this is what I've learned to do when I get to talk to thought leaders,
Yeah.
is give people a sense of is this sort of exploration motif that uh, we're talking about? Is that something that people do? They sort of go to the website and try some things and explore? Are there protocols? Are there
Yeah. Everything.
classes? Like what mechanisms? Like how does that work?
Yeah. I mean, to answer your first question, they feel better immediately and they're a little shocked.
Hmm.
It's funny. I'm a third generation Seattle girl, and the Seattle Mariners have never made it to the World Series. They almost did. They lost last night, and
Oh, geez. Two
it,
dimensions of grief.
it's
Oh my gosh.
devastating. But in one of the early games, it went into the 15th inning.
Mm,
And I will say this, I am so good at regulating myself that it's unusual for me to feel that anxious.
mm,
I forgot what that felt like.
mm.
And in that moment, I was actually at a fundraiser, and I finally left with a couple friends to watch it in the bar. And I remembered, oh, I have my oil. And so I went from, let me just put it on, from like, I want to bite off my nails, which I haven't done since I was a teenager, to like, okay, I'm regulated. So it's really interesting how quickly it helps you pivot out of
Hmm.
anxiety. And then
Mm,
the other thing that's really interesting, the nervous system is so fascinating because it's designed to keep us alive. So we have kind of that danger, fight back state, and then we have which is the sympathetic state, and then we have the parasympathetic, which is ventral vagal, and then we
mhm,
have kind of the freeze. Like I just don't have any capacity left, so I need to
mhm,
just kind of shut down and play dead. And that's what I see happening a lot. Kids that are just scrolling, that have bed rot, that just can't even function. They're just
mhm,
so overstimulated that they're kind of stuck in that dorsal vagal state. And
mhm,
that's where I really think kind of helping to reboot the limbic system is amazing. So this
mm,
limbic reset blend, I've been at a couple events recently where I can usually tell it's somebody who comes over and they're just uh, you know their demands of their life have exceeded their capacity, and it's pretty clear within like a few seconds of them talking, like, oh, that's what's happening for them. And I literally just unscrew it. They're talking to me, and I just hold it under their nose. And it's this interesting release where they'll often start crying, or they like somehow connect the dots of why they feel that way.
mhm,
And they just let it kind of discharge. And then they're like, can I buy this? Like, I think I need this one. So it's really powerful and unfortunately neglected and untapped. And so that's what I guess if somebody's listening, my goal for them is to just be like, wow, I never thought about that, but that might work for me, and
mm,
the thing that I love is it's natural, It's inexpensive. You can carry it in your pocket. You can carry it on airplanes. It's kind of subtle. So I
Mhm.
just, I hope people, remember that
Mhm.
smell can be a powerful tool in their mental health arsenal.
Mm. Well, let me just stop and share a couple of things. One, I, I'm sorry for your loss, and uh, I don't know if that holds solace to hear that anymore, but it just in our society, it's so neglected to recognize grief. And so I just wanted to stop and say, I'm
You know
sorry
why?
for your
Because I
loss.
think people are so uncomfortable, and if they entrain with it, they're afraid that they don't know what to do with it. No, I agree with you, and I think it's not just that they don't know how to hold grief. I think that it's kind of they've lost the ability to connect in a weird way.
Hmm. So, so anytime I hear about the death of a parent, the death of a child, I always, always, always
Oh,
let
thank
people know
you.
that I'm sorry for their loss. And then I also wanted to tie that to just the admiration I have for people who, um, create a blessing of adversity, which uh, there's so many interesting and evocative and powerful uh, motifs that I don't get to talk about much, but there are many, many cultures that recognize, like a lot of older cultures, the healers are actually people that have an emotional wound. And then Bruce Coburn, the Canadian singer, had a line that U2 stole called, this one's a little more raw, but gonna kick the darkness till it bleeds daylight. And then David Brooks, very conservative, he said, life breaks us or it breaks us open. Um, and there's
Well,
this
yeah, there's
motif.
that Leonard Cohen. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light
Hmm.
gets in. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think it's an important, I mean, this is really an example of the title of the podcast being Field Notes and Exploration of Functional Medicine. It truly is an exploration. And I think there's a degree of courage in saying we go where the podcast leads because people get to hear from thought leaders what's actually under the hood, which
Yeah.
I think is much better. The books are out there, the programs are out there, the online resources. I think it's more powerful getting to hear from thought leaders what the genesis is of their insight. And one thing, I think the two important things to do today that we haven't done, one is just to delve a little further into this is intuitive. This is such a rare instance where people can explore and play on their
Yes.
healing journey. And wow, isn't that refreshing?
Yes. Well, and it's really funny. People always ask me, like, I don't know where this misinformation got out that if it doesn't smell good, you need it. If you smelled food and you weren't attracted to it, would you eat it? Never. I, I think that we like need to tune into our intuition. Like, for women, you might crave chocolate at a certain time of the month. That's because you need magnesium for
Yeah,
relaxation. You
yeah.
might crave a hamburger because you need iron you
Hmm.
know, and it's so fascinating to me with oils. There are certain smells that when I need them, like frankincense, oh my goodness, I could bathe in it. It smells
Hmm.
delicious. And
Yeah.
then like for whatever reason, what I needed, I fulfilled. And then it's, I don't need it so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the physiology is so interesting in that these stuck loops, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, sympathetic overdrive. When we break these stuck loops, then the body can find its way back to
Yes.
equilibrium. The body
Yeah.
knows the way as one of the best tools
Homeostasis.
ever. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's really what I honestly try to do. I
Hmm.
basically look at like what are the things that fall out of balance. And to me, in our modern world, it seems to be sleep, nervous system regulation, and lymphatic drainage and kind of fascia
Mm,
release. And so I feel
mm.
like oils are the best for that. And basically, if you can get restful sleep, that's when the body heals. If you can
Mm,
activate your parasympathetic nervous system, that's when the body heals. If the body has an overload of toxicity, it's the lymphatic system that helps it drain and leave the body. And if that's congested, then the toxins don't leave and it triggers the immune system and it triggers inflammation. So just using, enhancing and restoring homeostasis to those systems, often the body heals itself.
mm. Are there safety considerations people should be aware of around allergies, or anytime the therapy is potent, it could potentially have a side people need to be aware of. So people with a lot of environmental sensitivities or allergies, do they need to deploy these strategies with caution?
I
Anything
think
they
on
should
it, I mean,
know?
everyone should use caution, but here's what I really think. It's very hard to hurt yourself when you're smelling something or topically applying it. I don't tell people to drink it, and I don't tell people to diffuse it 24/7 because here's
Hmm.
something fascinating. Just like if you're super hungry and you start to, eat something, at a certain point you get full. You're not going to eat the entire kitchen, right? With smell, at a certain point you get your fill. Usually it's like 3 to 7 breaths. So why do you need to diffuse it 24/7 into the air?
Hmm.
In
Hmm.
terms of allergies, I always err on the side of caution. I basically say don't use it on children under 2. If
Hmm.
you're pregnant, don't use it. If you have been using it, you can continue, but I think that it naturally detoxifies. And I am
Hmm.
concerned that those toxins can cross through the placenta to the fetus. So
Hmm.
why risk it? If
Hmm.
you tell me that you're severely allergic to grapefruit, can I try grapefruit oil? I'll say no. Why would you do that? You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
I just feel like use common sense and be cautious.
Yeah. Very sensible. I was just in Europe. It reminds me of Europe where they don't feel like they have the need to put a fence next to the cliff because it ought to be self-evident that falling off of cliffs is undesirable.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's common sense, but I really, I try to give parameters so
Yeah,
that there's no danger.
yeah, very, very sensible. Well, so is the new website up and running?
Yes, as of today.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Oh, this is
Yeah.
such a cosmic thing. We both wore purple today, and literally
Yeah.
I get to interview you on the day that it goes live.
Yeah, no,
So,
I'm really excited because I keep, it's like I launched this site like 13 years ago and I keep learning and learning
uh-huh.
and so I'm really trying to make it simpler, cleaner, easier.
Yeah. Well, as you reconfigured it, what's the coolest new thing you know now that you didn't know a year ago? Because you must have thought of this as you organized it, right? And sort of
Well,
remanifested it.
I think that the most interesting thing to me is that the vagus nerve has cofactors, right? That the terrain of the neck impacts the vagus nerve. So if your lymph is congested, if it's not draining, especially through the clavicles, what happens is the lymph then compresses the vagus nerve and compromises function. And
Mm,
so it can be physiology that impedes your ability to relax. And then if
mm,
your fascia, is constricted, the fascia, the lymph, and the vagus nerve, I almost feel like it's a braid. They all work together. And so
mm,
putting all three of those into balance really allows optimal function. It's almost like, I used to live in New York and I didn't have one, I didn't have two, I had like 5 locks on the door and I was still
mhm,
burglarized, which is bananas. But anyway, sometimes I'd be in a hurry and I'd open the door and I'd forget to undo the deadbolt, and I'm carrying all my stuff. And like, if you're not unlocking all the locks, you're not going to get out of the door. If you're
mm,
not putting the whole terrain of the neck into balance, it's harder to regulate the nervous system.
mm. Brilliant. Wow, absolutely beautiful. Just feel all lit up getting to talk to you today.
Oh, thank you.
Anything you wanted to share that you didn't get to?
The only thing that was surprising to me is I think that when you're stuck in fight or flight, it impacts your ability to problem solve, right? Like someone once told me the opposite of I don't feel safe is I have choices. And when your nervous system thinks they're danger, you get kind of this tunnel vision where you only see the danger and you don't see choices. So if you're having that moment where you just feel anxious or overwhelmed, you know, even if it's humming, just rubbing behind your earlobe, if you're able to try the parasympathetic blend, great. But when you activate your vagus nerve, all of a sudden you have choices. You're like, okay, I can do nothing, or I can walk outside. Like you can just start
Hmm.
to brainstorm, and the more choices you have, the more you're like, oh, I feel okay now.
Mm, awesome. Where can people find you, Jodi?
They can head over to Vibrant Blue, like the color, oils.com, or all of our social media handles are Vibrant Blue Oils.
Terrific. Thanks a million.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for the Seaworthy podcast. Seaworthy exists to help people overcome their health challenges and be fully vital. If you think we've earned it, please consider giving this podcast a like, subscribing, and giving us a 5-star rating on the platform of your choice. Thanks.